Hey Lambs, Kai here with a breaking news update. Breaking news update music! So this Thursday, I think that was just yesterday, I put out an update about Brandan and how he was looking to get the murder charges dropped because, he's just so freaking innocent, even though all the evidence points to him and points to Juliana. So anyway, today was sentencing. So let's get into that. But before we do, go back and listen to the original case to hear all of the evidence, all the backstories, everything. Then listen to the 2 updates that I have and then come back to this. Everything is in the show notes below, so it makes it easy for you. Just click on the links, listen to those cases, and then let's get into the sentencing. Former IRS agent Brandan Banfield was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murders of his wife, Christine Banfield, and Joseph Ryan. During the sentencing hearing, Chief Judge Penny Ascarate addressed Brandan saying, quote, "The level of cruelty, calculation, and inhumanity in this case reflects something far deeper than anger or impulse. It reflects evil. You still think you are the smartest person in the room. The disregard of the life of your wife, someone you supposedly loved, is almost unfathomable." The hearing included emotional statements from the families of both victims. Christine's sister, Danielle Hawker, described her loss as a, quote, soul-crushing loss. Quote, "I envisioned Christine's fear, her terror, and wished I was there to take her place. I no longer had a sister. I was no longer a sister." Reflecting on their childhood together, Danielle said, quote, "When she was born, I became we. I haven't stopped saying we when I speak about my childhood after her death, except now when I do, it takes my breath away. A pause filled with love that has nowhere to go." She also spoke about the lasting impact of Christine's murder. Quote, "Some days I feel like I'm living with a ticking time bomb waiting for it to explode, with fear and anxiety taking over my mind." Danielle said Brandan had other options. Exactly. Quote, "He could have divorced and moved on, but divorce would have required relinquishing control, and control was always the priority. His actions were not driven by love, but by a desire for power, deception, and a complete disregard for the lives he destroyed." You can tell that control was the priority in how he's not even taking accountability during this case, how he's trying to shift the narrative, how he's trying to ask the judge to let him go. Let's take the murder charges off of the table. I completely agree with Danielle that control was the priority because just how he's acting tells you everything you need to know. She also accused him of trying to damage Christine's reputation, saying, quote, "He attempted to smear her through outright lies and victim blaming. As Christine's sister, I didn't just lose her. I had to sit and listen to a version of her that did not exist." And I couldn't even imagine how infuriating that must be. I hate when people talk out of my character. Oh, pet peeve of mine. I couldn't imagine somebody talking out of character of my siblings or my husband or my daughter. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't. That would frustrate me. Joseph Ryan's mother, Deidre Fisher, also addressed the court and described the moment she learned her son had been killed, saying, quote, "When he gave me the horrible news that my baby had been murdered, I let out a primal scream." Couldn't even imagine. She continued saying, "I was the last person he called the night before he was brutally murdered. It was the last time I got to hear the word mom." Deidre pushed back against how her son had been portrayed during the case. Quote, "Joe was extremely caring. He lived with his grandmother and was dedicated to her health and her well-being. Joe was a guy who believed in fighting for the underdog and even actual neglected dogs." She shared that he would often rescue unwanted animals. Quote, "He would walk into an animal shelter and ask for the oldest, ugliest dogs, bring them home, and love them for years." She ended her statement by saying, quote, "Brandan will remain known as an abusive father, the brutal murderer of his dedicated and compassionate, beautiful wife, and a narcissistic killer of an innocent man." I agree with what she said, too. He is a narcissistic ass. Joseph's aunt, Sangeeta Ryan, echoed that sentiment, saying Brandan didn't just take Joe and Christine from us, he tried to erase the truth of who they were. Despite the verdict and sentence, oh my God, this guy, he won't stop. Brandan continued to insist that he was innocent, saying, quote, I am greatly disappointed in the legal system. My right to defend my family has been taken away. I am being sentenced on an impossible set of circumstances. I am not responsible for her death. This is not a knife I carried in my hand, and I never stabbed her. No, technically you didn't physically do it, but you set everything up, and all the evidence told the story. I could understand if there was literally no evidence and they were just pulling stuff out of the ether, but all the evidence is there. He also claimed investigators, quote, never truly looked into Joe Ryan. Yeah, because you're not as smart as you think you are, and the setup that you did didn't make sense. So no, they never really looked into something that doesn't make sense. Even while denying responsibility over and over and over again, Brandan said of Christine, quote, I loved her very much. Despite what you may think of my affairs, our marriage worked for us. And as her family member, I would have lunged over the table and tried to choke the life out of it. When I tell you, ugh. He continued saying, quote, she truly was a caring mother, caring wife, loving nurse, but I am not responsible. I am not responsible for her death. Well, Judge Ascarate said, yeah, well, whatever. She wasn't persuaded. She cited his lack of remorse, and then she sentenced him to spend the rest of his life behind bars, and as an added, without the possibility of parole. But to be fair with our legal system in the U.S., Brandan still has the right to file an appeal without 30 days. And you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to file that appeal. And I will keep you updated at the cajones of this guy. Unless you don't want to hear about him anymore. Unless you want him to fade into the void, then I won't do another episode on him. But if you want to hear about his cajones, well, you know, what he considers his cajones, and if and when he files an appeal, let me know and I will keep bringing that to you. Anyway, that is the update of this jerk who murdered his wife, or who set it up, because if you want to be technical, and still claims that he loved her. Our marriage worked for us. No, your marriage worked for you. I'm pretty sure she wasn't happy with your affairs. And, you know, just the brass balls on this dude. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you missed the initial episode, and I think I have 2 other updates on this case, all of those links are in the show notes below. That is all I have for you for this really quick update. I know it's not a Florida Man Friday, but it was breaking news. So let's breaking news Friday. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. And I will see you on Monday. Unless you're in the Patreon, then you have an episode coming out tonight again. Bye.